Beaver, away!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Critscast. Today we have the Division 1 Grand Finals. It's ETF2L Highlander Season 25. Two teams, both with a chance of taking home that first place medal. Is going to be Sorry to Disturb and Moro.
Anything can really happen. I feel like Prem is a bit set in stone sometimes when you look at past Grand Finals, but I really like watching Div 1 Grand Finals because they're new names. You haven't read the names. They are not all that worn out, I suppose, so we can see what will be happening here, if there will be any upsets, since these teams have different stories.
Of course, regular season, both these teams took points off each other. So, in spite of the experience, you'd perhaps hint towards the Sorry to Disturb side. They have been upset before, and again, this is a grand final, as you touched on. Anything can happen, and players certainly going to bring their A game, and it ultimately comes down to what you're going to play like on the day, what you're going to see. Certainly a much more experienced mix of players on the side. Sorry to Disturb. A lot of sort of thoughts on that.
I mean, most potentially, I think we have to link these informations up into the maps that we're playing tonight. Also, a little quick note maybe on the maps, as not only the maps are shown, perhaps even the picks and bans are shown. I will just quickly introduce them, and afterwards we can maybe talk a bit more about them. But the maps that will be played will be Upward in Steel 100%, and if it will be a 1-1 tie up to that, it will go to a best of 3 onto Product.
Yeah, certainly so. We're seeing it's sort of like the old dogs versus the young guns. A lot of players from the Moro side certainly have jumped up divs pretty rapid, as you touched on. I think probably quite interesting for the grand finals. They obviously removed one of the upset mats in Vigil, but then brought along Steel, so I'm quite excited to see that.
Definitely, I'm a bit off taken there. Not even would say off taken. I love the chat they're having in the chat right now, in the in-game chat that you can't see, but we are going live right here on the very first map of our potential best of 3 of the Div 1 Grand Final between Sorry to Disturb and Moro. And there goes a little greetings out to Wiethoofd, because right now comes the information that you can't cut out. Meer also touched a bit on the subject of different experience these teams maybe have, and I calculated the average HL starting season and therefore average year that these players played in for each team. So for Sorry to Disturb, it was a very solid 12.2, and then period 2, so around season 12 of Highlander they started, and Moro started around for season 16 of 16.4 period something, so 16, so 4 seasons later, and so 2 years later. So you can see on average already it shows that 2 years and 4 seasons can definitely make the difference here in terms of experience. But before I monologue, we are going, as I was saying, on to Upward with what was picked on by Sorry to Disturb, as the gates are going to open up. And obviously they picked it because Moro lost that map against Div in the regular season 2 vs 4. But before I stumble a bit more through the Oxford Language Dictionary, I will give the mic to you.
Yes, starting up on the offense is going to be Moro. They're just progressing this card nicely. They have not really gone for anything, and then instantly the sack wave comes out. They managed to get auto and all of that. That was a huge drop. Eden now 100% Uber advantage. The cart reasonably well progressed, but perhaps not as much as they hoped to. 3-second spawns for the players on the side Moro, but they've got a little bit of the time to play with now. They've got the heal advantage, they've got the player advantage, and they're going to want to try and bust out of this first as fast as they possibly can. The gun's still pretty aggro on the side, Sorry to Disturb, so Moro can't afford to slouch about for too long, but Dastron and Moiko seemingly leading the charge from their respect, and they do actually pop this Uber out.
They're taking a lot of damage there before the Uber. Yes, it does get popped onto the demo man. Dastron focusing down that sentry gun, but Piney on that classic snipe there onto Sandburn. All the players are going to walk out of there right now. The flanks have a bit equalized. Paroham gets his head scrutinized. Ascendery there though falling, so this second or first hold even should be of short lived, as Likey gets taken down there, and Otto is still pinned in there. Piney is trying to stare them down. Otto so weak. They already went out there with a blast. Moro, great early suicidal bombs, dropping the medic, and then afterwards relentless with the pressure.
Yeah, they sort of got disrupted just a little bit by the defense of Sorry to Disturb. The frags from Moro coming perhaps just a little bit too late, and it's given Sorry to Disturb a little bit of position over this hill area, which Moro want to try and disrupt as best they can, but also takes a huge old chunk of damage. It goes out to Moikill through the base point. A huge bomb from Haver as well. Wow, that was a really clinical execution there.
Cheeky peek there, right there from the corner. They were so aggressive, as you pointed out. Maybe even got a bit too overzealous there, a bit too confident. But this one is so weak. He's in the side tunnel, going to get flared down there by a sentry. He took so much damage there from an on-call sentry gun. Most likely, we don't have the mumble information, but we can judge that objectively seen. Z-Man there getting gunned out by the Tomislav in the backlines as well. They are very eager here to only hold this corner on the offensive stance. Lancer is getting jumped there, counter jumped by a soldier, but nothing is going to happen since they only want to get this card into a forward and prolific situation until they do something here with a big bomb. He kind of fails and hangs there. Oh no.
He comes in anyway, and it seems to be a sort of reasonable timing. It's enough for Sorry to Disturb to want to back out here. It's only a 30% Uber advantage now. Looks like Sorry to Disturb might have it before Moro can meander their way into this third point. Now the gun now receded cap well over the line. 2 minutes 35, a very respectable for this time, but Moro are not such about. They want to get straight up this hill as Uber just comes up for Sorry to Disturb. Pyroham gets dropped by a sticky trap and a huge reflect. Does see Dastron cast into the void, and he takes a big old chunk of crater damage. 3 players down from the combo of Moro, and it's going to have to be a little bit of a fail as their cart trundles forward.
They came in guns blazing, but dropping the pyro in the midst of it, it seemed like they didn't have the real coordination on what player should have taken the Uber, or what player should have taken the brunt of it at least. Eden is keeping his life. The Ubers are almost equalized once again, but Sorry to Disturb being so aggressive, they are on the back end of all the fragging power that they were able to fight off that initial push. The card is in a decent position, but not really up the slopes that you want to have it up to, and to get it into a prolific situation. But after all, maybe the first stalling point here, really.
Yeah, and it's talking about stalling. They've pulled out this concha, and they're just trying to apply as much pressure to this cart as humanly possible, you know, making it really, really awkward. And they actually do see the Uber coming out as well. Eden's on 98, 99%. Looks like he might just slip away. So many weak players on their side. Dastron going down as well is not going to speed things up for them. So a good attempt to collapse from Sorry to Disturb, but not quite getting what they would have hoped for there. So they're going to have another crack at the egg. Hope that Lanza can make something happen, perhaps build up another Conjurer charge, but the ball very much in Moro's court as they wait for their spawners on this 50% Uber advantage.
Not sure if this is confidence showing by Sorry to Disturb or cockiness. We'll have to see as the game is going to go either way in the favor of Sorry to Disturb for the moment, at least, as they're already back onto 70%. I don't know either if that is a bit of not confidence showing there as they get forced onto Moro. They had this big Uber advantage, but basically got nothing with it, got early forced, and right now the defensive team even has this defensive Uber up.
Yeah, we do see the cart trundling up that slope. He's managed to get up the first one, which is probably the most challenging because of the downman pressure, and Blank is doing an absolute stellar job of cleaning up the players on the side. Moro, they're 5 players down now, Sorry to Disturb have a little bit of time to get themselves set up again. Level 3 still up. Alti with a very slight Uber advantage, but takes a big old chunk as his team aggresses forward with Sambud and Ascendry, and they have got to sort of count their chickens and realise that it isn't really worth the risk at this point.
Piney is peeking so aggressively forward here with the classic only there, misses a shot onto Auto, who was staying in a bit of a automatic medic frag situation as the pass is going to come in.
And we're at the pretty early stage of this one. And Moro have got to have a little bit of a rethink about how they can avoid getting punished by Sorry to Disturb here.
They also have more playtime under their belts as a team together, I should say. I mean, both teams only, as I looked onto it, formed this season, but only judging from officials played there. Moro played all the officials until week 5, so 5 in the regular set, and then they played a semi-final, which was insanely close, by the way. I mean, we didn't cover that, but I looked at it. It had 3 golden caps, 4-5, as we unpause here as well. Right now, again, no statistic to go here, but what I said there, 6 games basically were played by Moro in the regular season, and only 4 on the side of Sorry to Disturb, as Hyper is going to get backstep. The pressure is relinquished there a bit on the flank right now, as the man is going to snuck away, and the Uber is firmly in the hands of Otto, who is getting so weak. Sonaf gets forced there even. I mean, the backstep came in onto the heavy, onto the offensive stance, but Sandburn is still chasing.
Oh
the
my
medic
God.
is getting fragged.
Sandburn just hit 3 perfect stickies on Eden there. That was like genuinely round saving at that point. They had so much cart pressure, they had so many people. That 60% Uber advantage there would probably have signed and sealed this third point. So that was pretty phenomenal there from Sandburn. And again, they've got themselves set up again. They've got an Uber advantage in hand, and this is the driving seat Sorry to Disturb want to be in.
They need to exert a bit more pressure here onto this card right now. I feel like they have done a great deal of it onto Moro to get this card pressure up, since it's almost up the last slope. Their lands are getting slayed by a combination of Moy, Kill and Halva on top there. 2 vs 1. I'm going to take the trade, and Cannon is onto the card, pushing it all day long. Scout 1v1, he wins that 1v1, crucial 1v1 to get right there. Ascendery has to walk forward, gets Pyro 1v1. Every class is going head to head against the opposing class, and right now they didn't lose their... Oh no, my HUD is screwed up.
Oh no, it looks like the medic crashed out, and that's why it went wrong. That explains the pause. Yeah, that's probably the worst player, and as soon as that player did crash out, Sorry to Disturb Ubud, so I suppose we'll take that as we will. But yeah, cart rolls back down sort of the last ramp of this third point now. They have been torn up a little bit more and more by that crash, unfortunately, but they've got a fair bit of ground, and they are still churning out a couple of frags. The pick class is still down on the side, Sorry to Disturb, but Dastron going down is not going to speed matters up, as Sorry to Disturb now a 55% Uber advantage on this defense.
The Sniper's opening up this entire point for them. Piney got 2 crucial frags there, finishing off on the frag onto Sandburn. Blank also getting Cloud out there, out of the picture. 4 down on the defensive stance. They don't have any Uber right now, though. They're going to use that Uber they just about got on right now onto Ascender. He is trying to deny that card once again. I like what the offensive stance is doing, but they're getting kept at bay there so much by Ascender. He is doing a hell of a lot of work here. Really saved the team the point there twice for his own team, and they're still getting stalled out. It's really disheartening if you're a Moro fan, as they had everything going for them, but Ascender is owning this hill.
Yeah, it looks like sort of Sorry to Disturb receded to a slightly more passive position now. It's a 50% disad their way, and a good bit of initial damage there from Dastron as well. It looks like it's going to be a pretty aggro Uber, managing to get in so his gun should fall in the coming seconds. It's only going to be a Sendry there trying to deny the end of that, and that is not a healthy time. A 6-minute second, and Blakey managing to pick off Eden and handing Sorry to Disturb yet another full Uber advantage while they have control of tires. It's looking a bit dire for Moro here.
They shouldn't get so impetuous, I should say. I feel like they have all the puzzles of their jigsaw set together when they pushed in the new... where everyone had to be, and Piney is on a 5k there, kills Likey once again. He's opening these points up wide open for his team. They have to force auto here, have to be aware that he has his full Uber advantage, and we have seen that Sorry to Disturb are not easily to be disturbed.
This is good
and
time as well.
Yeah, they're getting decent card time here right now, and they're forcing this Uber. They have to get Eden out of there, and he's not in any danger so far. The card is so fought. Scout finally going to get fought off Ascendery on a 13 kill streak, make that 14. He's pulling in the work, but great pressure there was exerted from the offense.
Yeah, Cannon did an excellent job, but his team was pressuring upper, and he just managed to slip by all of them and get that cart at the sort of closing out position. You know, this is a position where sort of one push can really seal it, regardless of how aggressive the enemy team is. If you can get one solid Uber push, that should be enough. Oh, and as I say that, Eden goes down to Zaman in the spiral staircase. And again, it's just about slowing down the Uber game, slowing it down, because Moro, they're just going to sit with their fingers in their bums until they can sort of get an Uber going, get a push going, and this is really not what they want at this stage in the game.
They have to be sure what they want to do here, as they get some damage onto auto. Hiver was on top. They had some players walking in. That was a sort of semi-suicide wave. I don't really think it was executed all that way. I like the initiative, usually, though they knew what they wanted to do. Right there, though, Sandburn is getting so aggressive through the front door, and Likey gets cleaned off there. Hiver on the sniper, the defensive sniper, really not keeping his life all that much, and the aggressive Uber is going to come out. Eden is so far caught out of position. Everyone, well, not really, his entire team is completely caught with their pants down.
Yeah, and you saw Zaman in the backlines there as well. He was ready to commit. You see Cannon, looks like he wants to try and backcap, which would be pretty phenomenal, but no, people turn around just in time. He tries to get in on auto, but not today. And again, that's the sort of aggressive Ubers that really take a big old hunk of time, probably about a minute at a time, off of Moro, just handing them again another Uber advantage. Sorry to Disturb and Samplin with the 3k with the trap. It's crazy.
It's a Scream K, maybe even. They had no eyes there. Wiethoofd is going to get his head scrutinized there. I'm the hard counter to the spy, apparently, like he is saying and claiming this dominion over the last point so far. I was criticizing him for not staying alive, but he makes amends for it until then. Piney is winning in those sniper battles. Lancer is getting mowed off there into the pit by Moike, and they're trying to get this aggression here in onto the medic.
Come in again with a super aggressive Uber on Dick Source, managing to pick up Dastron. Skyfox going down as well to the Domaman, but crucially, Eden does stay alive. Looks like we might lose a couple of players pretty late here in Moiko, and potentially Wiethoofd as well. Byram seemingly will survive, and we're seeing yet another pause. Then I have had word as to the cause of these. This pause is apparently Eden, the medic, on the side Moro, his config is broken.
Chat, but I don't see anything about the medic. Usually nobody is regarding medics with all that importance. Not even the own team, as the unpause is going to come in. Not going to give me the opportunity here right now to bash teams that don't really take care of their medic. But I think the medic there has issues with his config still. Has this full Uber right now though ticking. If my config is not mistaken, and it is not, they want to take the push through the under area, get Likey down as well already, as Destron is going to get Uber popped onto him, onto the Pyro there as well. Prolific cluster to Uber on, but you need to get someone down with it. Ascendanary denying so much.
Yeah, a lot of players penned up on these tiles, but they're so healthy, they're ready to recommit right at the end of it as well. A lot of weak players on both sides, and a huge bomb from Iva manages to pick off 2 in the combo. Domaytoe and Sunburn. Ascendary has a little bit of something to say about it, does a big old chunk of damage. Eden seemingly pretty close to burning out, but it looks like Lakey with the shot. We'll see him off.
He got crit. Yeah, he got crit there by rescue range.
Oh, I thought the crit, I just assumed it was a headshot.
It was the engineer, obviously. How can you think anything
Of course
else?
it was the engineer, yeah. But yeah, I can't actually see the time.
It's
but
12:14. Yes, I also had the very, very able cheat that I'm able to pull off in these the commands. The only command I really know. It is 12:14. Not a very happy time right there, though. They had great initiative. Finally, the Uber advantage pushed into them, pushed them out, even though, sorry to disturb, once again, we're not really disturbed by this initial Uber because they all backed out, they didn't really take all that much damage, but after all, Halva coming in with a great flank, being in a good position right there, and Piney also, we had some talk about that, definitely winning the sniper with a sniper duel that helped them there, but I can't sugarcoat it, it's not a happy time, they really have to have a miracle here. I don't know what is going to happen for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, like, they could certainly try and flip it on its head, Moro here, and try and try to disturb what they did to them. But, you know, you've not got that sort of wealth of experience. You know, a lot of these players on the sort of now off-ending side have been in this position many times before, even some of them last season. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge to try and tick down this 12+ minute time. As we do see Sorry to Disturb emerging from the spawn, ready to line up their first wave of sacks. Ziman seemingly caught out, so probably won't quite get away with as much as they would hope. And then we see Sunburn going in super deep, managing to hit a pipe onto the combo there, but ultimately not enough to get the force out of Eden. The 3 people from Sorry to Disturb do go down, seemingly as is Moro's dispenser, as Sorry to Disturb have a lot of time to play with, and I can imagine yet another sack will ensue.
Sorry to Disturb had great individual sacks there, but the issue is they didn't really do it, where they did one at a time there, 1 second apart from each other, though. Z-Man finally coming in, he did a great parkour there early on, getting his that ringer triggered and jumped past all the players, even though he got hit by a flare, hit in the behind area. I think even got the teleporter down right now, those stabs Piney down, so he has to get back to the feet without the dispenser, without the teleporter in play. Desk still down as well. They might want to initially and instantly push into this. Sandburn is trying to spearhead this entire push as both Ubers still equalize. Wiethoofd is onto the combo here. Gets caught out, gets flamed out. Uber is still not used by any team.
Yeah, they're clinching onto it pretty hard here, but seemingly too hard as 3 players from Moro go down the Uber, coming out super duper late, and nobody to keep the gun alive. It's going to have to be a backup pretty rapid on this first point here, and with so many numbers down and so many players up on the side, Sorry to Disturb, it's going to be a tall order for them to have an aggro hold on this second, so going to have to resort to the significantly weaker sort of passive hold unless they can pull a miracle out of this bag.
Z-Man is already in the front there, going to get his Deathringer triggered, still survives on a sliver of HP, going to snag out there on 6 HP. D-Source is holding there on top, and right now there comes a try, thing to jump. Did they make this jump harder? Hyber also failed it before, but Lancer also didn't get it.
Yeah.
And gets so weak there, but they weren't even in this point at all. You pointed it out, they were so passive. Lancer's trying to kill himself, but he gets arrows, so he survives there initially, and everybody can blame him afterwards, though. 10 minutes, as the round timer also says, for 2 points.
Yeah, 10 minutes for 2 points is not great, particularly when the offending side is this far up the hill with full Uber charge. Do you manage to drop Dixos? Oh, and Sandburn falls to his infernal death, falls down the cliff, and seemingly so does a Sentry. Farham doing a good job of knocking those players back, trying to slow them down, and what that has done is it's disrupted the car enough that they haven't actually managed to get it up this first slow, in spite of that really sort of dominant looking Uber to start with, that it sort of crumbled in their hands.
Destron needs to walk forward, these players need to walk forward, they're giving up free cap time here, absolutely for free. Moike is going to get stabbed there by Z-Man, they're giving up all this ground for absolutely no reason at all. Auto went so weak beforehand, that forced him to pop there, and Sandburn tumbled down to his doom, as you pointed out. He tumbles down once again, Skyfox is going to clean it up, but they're giving up all this pressure here, all this cap time. Z-Man finally getting classicked out there on the 3rd point, but Destron still so passive, all the players still so passive. Hyber finally popping that conch, he's on half HP, almost died there. There is no synchronized defense of that 3rd point really. They have fought them off for the moment, but it's not convincing in my eyes.
No, certainly not, and again, like, it's just sort of single players watching these flanks, and you know that they can be sort of overwhelmed pretty rapid here, so cart time, although it's pretty good, they do actually manage to pop an Uber charge off, it's being held much better, and again, Fireham has just launched a Sentry into the void there. Blank doing a pretty excellent job of getting out of that slope, but gets picked off by Piney and a bit of demo spam as well. Looks like Dixos wants to be sort of the last hurrah of Sorry to Disturb's push attempt, but all they get off the back of that is a 20% Uber advantage as they try and reconcile in the low end. Sandburn actually comes in with a huge bomb, completely denied by the gun, a big old chunk of damage taken off, managing to survive just, but not quite what he was hoping for there.
Lancer's winning the big 1v1 against Kanan. They're onto that little side thing. Hyber though going to finally explode all the players. Annihilation on that card early on though. Sandburn jugged into the air. They're going to clean the soldier up after he has done the damage. Moike going to win that 1v1 there against Lancer, and Wiethoofd causing a bit of headaches there, but Lakey, speaking of headaches, takes down Eden. Free Uber there right now though. Sandburn is trying to clop Destron down with a melee weapon. Doesn't work out there. Auto completely caught in the front of a ranged level 3 sentry and it didn't get dealt with, and there's a bit of meme potential right there. Both medics went down, but Sorry to Disturb is looking to seal off this round.
Yeah, that really dominant Uber definitely credits them. They would have hoped for a few more frags potentially on the defending side so they could take upper for free, but looks like it might be a little bit more awkward as Moro want to try and get in under, but losing Moikil means that it's going to be a little bit of a write-off. But Haver and Piney doing a pretty good job of sweeping up a little bit of pressure from that cop. We did see Cannon on their offense did a pretty stellar job of just wheeling it in through this main, but we should see how things pan out as Moro setting up in the sort of classic pub spot, but a definite positional advantage on Sorry to Disturb side here.
Moro are forced to be on this balcony there, but the balcony usually has Doom embroidered onto it if you don't really get out of this position at all, and the sniper staring you down. They got decent pressure there onto Sandburn early on, but he's back into action on half HP right now, but going to link up with this combo there on the top. Moike is going to go under, and Z-Man snacking this little card forward all the time. Easy pressure there onto that gun with the Enforcer with the help of Lancer's rocket right now. The Uber is going to come in. Not really used there on the defense, but they have to get into positions. Destron is dying. This Uber will probably not achieve all that much out of it as Pyrohem is chasing down to the tracks, but Z-Man is still on this card. So much damage is going to finally find the frags in their favor. Sandburn so weak as well. They're on these tracks.
Yeah, managing to sort of pressure out some of Sorry to Disturb's players through main, but Moro have lost so many numbers all over. Dastron getting picked off, as is Pyroham. It's just going to be a couple remaining. Only the gun really putting up any fight whatsoever for Sorry to Disturb as they want to make their way in. A bomb from Haver attempting to save the day there, but the car's being slightly overwhelmed. 4 players remaining on the defending side. Canon having a little bit of a last hurrah, but ultimately it's not enough. 5 minutes 33 left on the clock. Not sort of an awful defense time really for Moro. Like 7.5 minutes isn't anything to be sniffed at really, but obviously not ideal because 12 minutes to sit up against, but perhaps might show some sort of prospect for the future, as this is a best of 3 on this first round, and seemingly we're going to sort of roll straight into the second of the 3 potentially.
They want to make amends for having 2 pauses already in the very first set of this upward game, as that could be a little signal there, as both teams are confident, maybe even with their performance. They're obviously 12 minutes, not the best time to push, but 7.5 minutes, decent time to defend, especially against one of the teams that didn't lose a single game. They lost some points there to, namely Moro in the season there. Sorry to disturb. That is in week 4. They went 5-1, and that was a pretty close game. I mean, Moro got rolled there 3-0 onto Copeland, but 3-2 it was onto Warmtick, so pushing them and the top dogs here to the golden cap, and therefore they might have some sentiment of even winning this, since they are not unbeaten. They are not unbeaten here in terms of rounds, I should say. Sorry to disturb, since they lost 1 round, for example, to Ugandan Pizza Police onto week 3, onto Vigil. Obviously, there is a bit of a conflicted map there, I should say, but onto the sturdy upward map, there's nothing really different in terms of game modes. Therefore, Moro should be able to do to them what they did to them. But Z-Man, they're snacking in. Not with the Ringer right now, though. Comes Suicide Wave. Doesn't really get any damage there onto the medic. He's very safe.
Yeah, it was a real good spread of damage, but ultimately not enough for any frags to come off the back of it. Just Dastron going down, Lakey winning the sniper 1v1, makes things a little bit easier for their what you'd expect to be their second sack wave from Sorry to Disturb. But the card's pretty well progressed, considering how early we are into the map, but they actually do decide to pull Auto out of the spawn door now, so looks like they want to just try and play a game of pressure. The gun pulled back by Moro in Skyfox, and they want to take this corner, and Uber aggressively, seemingly. It has been popped on Sandburn and a sentry. A good denial there from Pyrohammer right at the start of that, and it's going to be a back out here as Wiethoofd managed to pick up both flank and inner, so that means the gun is not going to be a threat from the engineer just for the time being.
Sandburn Sec there got denied on the second point. Wiethoofd coming in with steps a bit too late for defending the first point, but just in time to maybe even defend the second point in an aggressive manner. But they got there on the Suicide Wave. Sorry to Disturb got every frag that they needed, every prolific flag, except the medic. Got the demo man down, got the sniper down, and afterwards also the man coming in, killing off the flank. So they had already 1/3 of the enemy team down. Is right now though so much damage is going to be exerted onto his front flank. The Auto getting backstep there. Wiethoofd coming in huge for his team, denying any sort of heal that is going to not help the offense right now, as Sendary very, very lonesome there against Cannon, who is going to easily cannon him away with his scattergun. And Eden right now has 80% advantage, so they were able to fight them off Auto only on 20%, but they've kind of opted for a bit more of a passive hold there. Really, Z-Man coming in unpunished right now and gets the sentry gun down.
But we do see a huge bomb coming in. Lander and Sandburn picking up 3, managing to get to the drop onto Eden as well. That was really, really stellar from them. We thought the pit class of Moro were having a field day, but the explosive class of Sorry to Disturb seems to be one that's having all the fun. Z-Man picking up Skyfox as he tries to slip away with his level 3. 2 players up on this third point. Sorry to Disturb going to look to just try and lock it out as best as they possibly can. Sandburn only just rocking up. This could be potentially disastrous for Moro as they try to scrabble to get set up on this third point.
And Destron is already getting caught out there a little bit. He is trying to duel a sniper who's going to stare him down long range there. Eden is going to get cleaned up there. Lancer snacking in behind their lines, full 100%. And well, Uber advantage, heal advantage in the hands of the offense, all that they can hope for. And the third point is a free point for them, as there's absolutely no position for Moro to even get back into it. And that was the weakness of holding passive there on the second point, teamed up with the strength of a defense being, of an offense being very, very coordinated, as the coordination is still rolling through here onto full combo push onto top. They don't really get any frag, they get the ground, and the third point is just going to get kept right now.
Well, considering that Uber charge has managed to give them tiles for free, well, the sort of flank sort of just silently capped third in the background is pretty huge in respect to this game, because suppose you could just, at this point in the game, just trade. The sort of chunky spawn waves you're seeing on the red side are really not going to do anyone any favours, but in saying that, they are losing sort of a couple of unsavoury players that they wouldn't quite want to, and they just got to hope that they can convert more frags onto Moro than vis-a-vis, as this car is slowly trundling through this main. Now, a couple players in upper from Sorry to Disturb, a slight Uber advantage from Moro. They're in this pub spot, you know, they're going to have to do something pretty off the wall, pretty aggressive if they want to tick this down, because this is a blistering time from Sorry to Disturb.
They have to spread out right now. They have the resources, they have their heals up. This useless Uber, they're onto the top. There were no players on the top by Sorry to Disturb, and it leaves them with still having an Uber disadvantage. But Moro either don't have the coordination or the call to walk aggressive in here. Setman once again is going to have a field day though, but Lance are finally going to get Tomislav down there. Destron though falling to pipes. Piney getting full charge body shot. They're losing their players irresponsibly. Ascenry on this card, so weak. Finally the jump is going to come in from Pyroham. He's going ham. He's defending that card. It is mine, that card, even on the low ground. Nothing really to help him. Epic surf back into the spawn. But please spread out your resources there on a hope and a prayer. It worked out this time, but the respawn wave is going to make them pay.
Oh, this is really disastrous. This is the players from Moro trying to stack onto the cart, but as soon as they get one frag from Sorry to Disturb, they get 3 frags converted back onto them, and they just fall victim to these insane spawn times. They just couldn't get in position, they just couldn't play any advantages, and 4 minutes 53 is pretty blistering. Probably one of the fastest times I've seen in recent memory.
Issue is, it's also set in a grand final, which shows you the either psychological warfare that can enforce, or the diminishing mindset that might be able to set in. But they have to just think, we're going in guns blazing, we can do the same. They're on the side of Moro. The issue once again relied within. They got basically wiped out there on the second point by not holding forward enough or not backing out too fast and easy. They were once again caught in two different mindsets, and I'm going to take a decision right now. Before I wasn't sure if they were just cautious or paid too much respect. Right now I'm going to say they paid too much respect there in that round. Definitely not with a cautiousness that makes you win, but rather with a timidness that makes you lose there. Bit more courage needs to be exerted, maybe even have a main caller to step up to the play and say we're doing that, because it is right now the time for heroes. They have to have a strong main caller, they have to have everyone in tower. 5 minutes, gates to open up.
Yeah, they're going to need to go pretty quickly out of this gate, but Piney going down right at the start of that push is not going to assist matters. They only really have time for one sack wave, but Blakey is just picking players off the cart. He understands the importance of just slowing that down and just trying to make it as awkward as possible. Haver and Dastron only now just getting ready to go. Dastron so high up in the air, managed to get a couple off, but gets an insane headshot from Blakey. Actually picks Dastron up as he descends. I think that could have been potentially disastrous from them, kind of managing to pick up Inner's gun, but 4 players down from the side. Moro. The car is sort of in a reasonable place, but they really do not have the time to spend with another sack, and they're just going to have to cut their losses and just try and pile forward here, as Sorry to Disturb are slamming the accelerator.
It was a decently executed suicide wave, and if 4 players go in, then definitely one is going to get it, and Otto is going to get piped. That Destron with a full drop there, finally going to get the Uber out. They have to roll them in here. Ascenry is going to get 2 shot down there by Kenneth. Disa is going to get absolutely sorted down. Medieval times, we'll see if it will be a medieval time after all. Only 4 minutes to go, but 3 times on this cap, that should be, and all the players went down. There is so much steam in the engine right now, hopefully, as they have to take this second point, the second point hill, and hold it.
Yeah, that was pretty disastrous from Sorry to Disturb, and Moro have managed to do to them what they did to Moro on their previous defense. We do see a conjure out of Lanza actually does bomb up, making a good up bit of space. Eden so weak, does crater. It's a sandburn, and that's the momentum completely stunted. They lost 5 players now. The cart's sort of halfway through this tunnel, but that's not what you want to be seeing on the offending side, as Sorry to Disturb and get themselves solidified in this aggro hold on hill. Once again, a 50% Uber advantage in hand.
Finally, the engineer, who was the brave little guy who is going to push that card all day long, was deterred by the defensive force, though. Source is going to get headshot. They're so far in here, so far aggressive on the side of Sorry to Disturb. Moro there getting caught a bit with their pants. Once again, this pressure was just too much to deal with, but all the players are going to walk in finally. Like you're going to get backstep. Ascendery getting absolutely wrecked apart by Hyver. Once again, they're getting these frags, and they're even getting auto down. The Spy is going to come in as well. Roll this is probably going to be the call that is going to come in right now. 70% onto Eden. All the stakes are in their favor, and they have to roll this. They're getting so much momentum.
Yeah, this is certainly a very winnable still. They've got that Uber advantage in hand, as you touched on. We've got a few players from Sorry to Disturb seemingly waiting in spawn. Looks like Lakey wants to make something happen with the classic himself, as moro are barreling up this hill now. Some traps tactically set by Sandburn, trying to eliminate them just a little bit, and they do pop the Uber off pretty early there. Not too much to deny them from the side Sorry to Disturb, but not many frags converted the other way either. So Cart just trundling along. Moro really trying to control this corner, but their health is really not excellent at this point. So they're going to have to sort of just play around their demo, play the heals, play the corners, and just allow this Cart to progress. He's really far back relative to them, so just got to be a little bit careful they don't get burned.
It's an obscure armistice that got enforced on this point, but right now the Uber is going to come in from the defending side. They don't really get any cleanup kills there. Hyver is going to get killed by the Tomislav there, by all things, and Z-Man on this card trying to gun down the capturers, and they have been caught themselves. They even got out. The issue is the card is not that much in a prolific situation. Blank finally classic down once again by Piney. The issue is the defensive force is so aggressive, they might even be able to force this and get all the frags, which inhibits Moro from getting anything working here, really. They don't get their players into position. Sandburn is in 6k. They're cleaning up all these players. You can see the experience shining there. I mean, the offensive team has once again the Uber advantage, but if you don't have the personnel to make this Uber work, it's not going to be all that much successful, as they don't even get any frag here. Ascendery is 39.
Yeah, Hyver does try and make something happen there. The Cart nearly up that final slope, but we're seeing the aggressive Uber coming out. Sorry to Disturb, 30 seconds left. It is all about just delaying this cap time and making it impossible. And speaking of impossible, with Cannon going down and Ascendery managing to pick up 2 with a lovely reflect off the edge there as well. I think impossible might be the word for Moro's chances of taking this offense. And with that, Sorry to Disturb take the first map, which I believe was their pick.
Interestingly enough, you have to cement this situation right now as Hyver gets completely reflected out into other depths there. You have to cement this situation right now into the back of your head, because you can realize that this is the same situation that 1 and 0 is going to tick down. The same situation as Moro lost the first round in, as Sorry to Disturb settled too strongly into this third defense, making them pay. And even though the offense had the Uber advantage, it didn't really get capitalized off all that much. And there we go. First map, as you alluded to, goes the way of Sorry to Disturb. It was their pick, as they were the upper seed.
We could indeed have a little look at these logs, shall we, Domaytoe?
I always say though, which is the most important fact there, is sort them by KDs. That usually tells you a lot. I mean, kills are obviously also important, but if you keep your life, it also is going to work out like a charm. I mean, for Ascendery, right, they're doing so much work. 3.3 KD, boring Pyroclast ruins your fun, but 5.7 KAD is going to play into that narrative that they were so strong on the defense, were able to recuperate of maybe getting rolled on early on in the first 1 or 2 points by Moro, but afterwards rebounding.
I mean, I think the pick classes went pretty even with each other. I'd argue, sort of particularly on that second offense we saw from Sorry to Disturb. Weetabix picks went absolutely huge. You sort of tore them up on that first, and Piney got some really crucial picks as well. But I'd say pretty even across the board. But we all know when it comes to pick classes, particularly Spy, their contribution is about more than just sort of how many frags they get. It's definitely the sort of value of it, and what information they can sort of feed back. But as you touched out, you know, just Sandburn, 640 DPM over 33 minutes. Managing to go 39 to 18 is pretty destructive, and you did see the impact he had.
Off maybe something else. Eden didn't drop once. I mean, I feel like he dropped off the server a bit, unfortunately, but Otto has 2 full drops. That's pretty interesting to see for Medic mains now. But he also has pretty nice healing numbers. Therefore, I mean, he got dropped there by synchronized suicides, which Moro definitely practiced and were able to enforce onto full extent.
Yeah, of course, we can put the So that we're behind us now. It's a best of one. You know, it's just sort of a map advantage to Sorry to Disturb now. Moving on to Steel. So this Grand Finals is by no means a write-off based off the performance of the first map. We're seeing Payload, been and gone. Upward, writ off, you know. Sure, Sorry to Disturb, you've got it. But now we've got something else to say in Steel and potentially Product.
Steel right now as the pick, or at least the map that was picked by Moro, the underdogs there a little bit is going to come off as the curtain is going to roll up after falling short onto Upward 2-0, but to be quite fair, it was Sorry to Disturb's pick, and they have shown why they picked this map. And onto Steel, as you alluded to, anything once again can happen.
Yes, of course. Moro really have got to put the first map to the back of their minds if they want any chance of recuperating. As we touched on, definitely Steel is a map for upsets. You know, there's so much that can happen. Experience does trump all most of the time, but again, even the biggest beast can be tackled on Steel should the attacking team have the willing. So, going to be attacking first will be Moro. Again, for those unfamiliar, it's one of those maps where sort of the A is just so weak. You've just got to commit straight to the second point here as to just stop the enemy team from getting some momentum. So shouldn't be the fastest start out of the gates here as Moro sort of make their way forward on the offense to A point.
Piney is either on the Huntsman or the fortified compound, but I saw some dangerous arrows there getting fired off. Also, little quick information. Sorry to Disturb didn't play Steel in the regular season. They didn't play a week 5 game because one team dropped in the season itself, and therefore maybe Moro has the advantage since they played Steel and won it 4-2 against Uganda Pizza Police, who have also been a renowned team there in the upper seats there, but Sandburn is going to lose his head. Piney gets a crucial opening frag into the B point maybe.
That's really huge for them, but Cannon's trying to bust in with this Ponk, but he's just getting completely denied by a Sendry, and Sandburn's going to be up in just a few seconds. It looks like they're trying to execute a little something with Wiethoofd as he's hiding in this corner. Moro slowly taking this upper area, but they've taken a big old chunk of damage, and Blank managing to convert a frag as well. Just no coordination there whatsoever. Wiethoofd just goes down for pots, but spawns should come in reasonably quickly. Eden on the 100% Uber still, it is equals, but sort of unless you're managing to convert at least 1 or 2 frags with these sack waves and let the defending team fall victim to the really long spawns, it's definitely not an easy thing to bust through as Piney also falls down.
Dying here onto Sorry to Disturb you, but there's nobody dying there right now. They're getting their health up once again, because the issue is they have the advantage of a level 3 dispenser, and the conch from Lancer came in, so the long-term DM fight didn't find anything, and Moro needed to exert more dominance and more pressure onto the top after they forced Source out of there and Sandburn was down, but that is long in the past, so it's a difficult task they have to walk in right now.
Yeah, they do manage to pick off Sandburn again, so he should be back in the fray soon enough, and Moro want to try and execute before that happens. Uber out from both teams, but no position really taken from Moro, not even control of this upper area as it stands, and they are just getting completely spammed out by the players of Sorry to Disturb. It looks like they might elect to try and apply a little bit of pressure to try and pull the Sorry to Disturb players back through that connector and potentially cause a little bit of disruption in the ranks to try and make their way through and try and close this map out.
Blank is watching this and going to get cleaned up there. He got the information but lost his life forward. Sandburn though got the early stickies there onto Hiva. I was almost ready to criticize them for not showing enough ingenuity, but they're trying to sell that point right now. As speaking of points, on the E point, Cannon is on to there as a little wasp there, maybe trying to sting onto it. Once again, Sentrygun is going to get absolutely rendered harmlessly there by Destron, as the cap time is not really enough here, but Z-Man going to get well gunned down there, and likely also falling to Piney. They get some crucial frags. The issue is this combo from the defense is still very comfortably settled in this BC connector.
Yeah, Cannon's receiving so much heat. He's the solitary man on this cap, and he needs a little bit more support. 3 players are down on the defending side, both teams with the Ubercharge as well. But again, it's a cap game, and Cannon's just stood on 2 stickies for the longest time. Does go down. You know, both teams with the Ubercharge. Looks like Wiethoofd wants to apply a little bit of cap pressure to this B, coupled with Haver only being returned by a Sentry, which if I was a soldier and a spy would probably be the worst people I'd like to see barreling towards me. So looks like they will have a little bit of an exchange. Sandburn going back eventually managed to pick up both of those, but that's going to mean an Ubercharge super aggressive from moro behind in the connector into Sorry to Disturb, trying to make a little bit of space, but no frags converted as of yet. Sort of made their way over towards the C point, but this is a really sticky position to be in, as they have not got the door access they would quite want. Dastron picking up Sandburn and also super duper aggro, and it's a bit of a collapse.
Yeah, they're going to win that fight of the BC connector. It was a bit defined by Domaytoe early on, but they right now lose the players. Ascendery stayed alive somehow. Hiver is still on this point. The long respawns hopefully are going to come into effect. B is still going to get pressured there from Wiethoofd, doing hell on a lot of work, but Ascendery, they're going to hell hunt him down right there though. I don't hope for moro that they fall into this likely issue of not keeping any point there and getting kept at bay there a bit too, unfortunately.
Yeah, Cannon's doing a really good job of splitting this pressure. You know, Wiethoofd and Cannon, Haver does just fall into a pit. Looks like he missed his spacebar by an inch there, but yeah, Wiethoofd and Cannon doing a really good job of pressuring these points, but ultimately not enough, as they have failed to convert anything beyond the A point in the first 30 seconds of this map. They got a fair bit of cap time on this B, but it is ticking down rapidly as Sorry to Disturb cement themselves again on this B, and moro have to seek to try and disassemble it. 25% away from Ubercharge still. It's a bit of a tall order at this point.
I'm seeing dreams shattered in front of my eyes, as I mean they're extending the server, so they might have some sentiment of pushing this maybe into a third map, but they're not playing as if they could do it right now. Though Haver's going to jump in, they're going to get the force onto Auto, who went to half HP. He would have dropped as well there as the soldier flanked him from behind. Moro lose a lot of players. They get the Uber force. They have to think, what are we going to do now? It looks like they want to push through the B spawn right now onto that B point, or through the spawn onto that B point, I should rather say. The issue is that's the same situation we have been in for the last 4 or 5 minutes at least.
Yeah, and Sandburn is constantly having his foot on the gas. He does die for it occasionally, but he does a really excellent job of displacing moro as they try to push up here. You know, the conch is out, they've got a pretty decent chunk of health. Lanza goes in with a huge bomb, managing to pick up Piney, so that's a big old chunk of pressure that's been eliminated, getting Haver as well.
He wins that one. I have no idea how. He's still in behind. He's
Haver just started whipping. It's crazy.
Pestering him. Yeah, finally going to fall down. The B point is hopefully under the control of moro. But they have the Uber here onto Sorry to Disturb, and Sandburn and Ascendery are going to spearhead it. Dastron is going to get caught out there, but the level 3 sentry gun right now from the offense maybe even going to help them. No protection. There was something in from behind, and once again they're getting fought off. It's so unfortunate to see. Heavy 1v1 is going to ring off right now, and Sauce is going to win that, forces them out.
Yeah, Eden just manages to surf Dick Sauce's bullets away back into main, so it's going to be a very, very slight Uber advantage to them, and so many players down does mean they've got a bit of a challenge again to try and unstick this point, but we're seeing them in the same position they were 30 seconds into the game, you know, sort of equal Ubers, only A capped and no pressure on any of the points, so 2 minutes remaining for them to try and just cap a point. But it seems like they're having a good attempt as moro try and take this corner. The Uber does come out. Moiko or Firearm both so weak. They're going to have to absorb all of this, and a significantly better Uber outside to Disturb. The man managed to pick up Haver as well. A good bit of cap time achieved by Cannon once again. He's been a real stalwart in that regard, but
Wiethoofd is going to come in,
either way.
denies any defensive fields finally, and now 3 players up for Sorry to Disturb. Moro going to step on that point, but Sandburn is even going to jump in, assert some confidence. No, the level 1 sentry gun is easily going to pick him out of the air. They are 7:46. You like to see that as a total cap time for the entire map, not for the B point.
Yeah, that's pretty devastating considering how comfortable Sorry to Disturb are looking at this point. 40% Uber advantage in hand. You know, they've got themselves set up on C, so moro, if they want even sort of semi-respectable time, they've got to just bum it for this E point now. They have got a decent bit of cap time, and in it is down, so no real cap pressure being eliminated by the sentries, but that headshot from Lakey.
What? He doesn't seem to want to play the next season. I don't know what he's doing. I have a combo right around the corner. I could have my combo clean the enemy combo up, but I also could just have easy frag material there for my future frag movies. Snipes them away point blank. I think both combo players there. Also Eden almost got the sauce in, but ultimately it means though he has a 30% advantage because the respawn time there onto auto was quite long.
Look at this, they try and get a couple of players into heaven, but it's just the wrong players. You know, Wiethoofd and Piney, probably not the two ideal players to try and lock out heaven, but you actually see Moikill deploying there, managing to pick up one innocent man and two players painfully weakened. Piney comes in as well, but gets killed by the cleaver, trading with Blank quite hilariously, might I add. But Moro, in spite of that chaos, have managed to bust their way into this C point now, and they want to try and get forward as best they can. They've now got a 30% Uber advantage, player advantage.
They're getting trolled because, the defense wanted to troll the offense, and they did, to be quite fair, for some time there, because they let the teleporter stay alive and clean up all the players that were coming through. But right now, though, Moy cleaned up the players after all, coming in with 300 HP, heavy and healthy as always, and they managed to cap C there in just under 10 minutes though. Sandburn is going to get a solo Uber onto him. There's only a heavy really there on top to clear him up. The offensive Uber is not going to get all that much done for it, or will it? Yes, Piney finds that from auto. However, going to get reflected down into the respawn.
Eden tries to get a saw onto Lancer, but just ends up feeding him damage and therefore feeding him health for his Black Boss. Manages to pick up two of them. 4 players down on the defending side, so it's by no means a write-off just yet, as Callum's trying to do everything he can to get this cap over the line, setting up in Beck, doing all they can. Sorry to disturb, just going on these nice long rotations, trying to set themselves up to try and eliminate Moro from this cap, but Moro really want to solidify themselves as best they can, try to take the high ground, try and lock off these chokes where their health is not looking good.
Sauce is even winning that 1v1, even though Moikill had the heals advantage. Auto gets some juicy arrows there into the opposing Pyro. He's not going ham anymore right there though. Hyva against Sandburn. Hyva wins that one, or at least a trade. Got revenge onto Sandburn, who created us after all. And Destron is going to clean Blank out of the picture. Blank space is going to be where he stood beforehand. He has decent amount of camp and pressure so far. A Sendary on that mid, finally going to get fought off. I think the E point is going to get kept there in a nick of time. Sauce also falling, but Eden is ruining his medic stats there, but I think this E point should be kept quite so soon.
Yeah, they've just got a constant player advantage here, and it's enough for them to start capping, but we know how long it took for them to get to this position in 11 minutes. That's a time, isn't it?
It is. They have to marshal their forces to get a convincing foothold. I feel like we have the same vocabulary as we had in Upward, because it is a very similar situation. They once again fell victim to very likely and unfortunate issues, I should say, but well, fortune is not something you can decide. You can influence the game by the plays you make, and the issue there was they were only like 1 or 2 seconds away from capping B there early on, like 2 times. It was always so close, and they were on the E point, but they only all relied onto cannon and didn't really push into Sorry to Disturb, so they happily sat there, and everything there, I feel like, was in the hands of Sorry to Disturb. They played the game how they wanted it played, and the time represents just about that.
It did, yeah, and if sort of that teleporter in heaven wasn't maintained for such a long time on E, and Moikill managing to get like 2 like sort of triple kills, it certainly could potentially have not even been an E cap from Moro there. But irrespective of that, we are now seeing Moro on the defensive side. 11 minutes to play with absolutely no pressure whatsoever on Sorry to Disturb. They can go for an alphabet push, or they might choose to pressure E nice and early and try and pull some of the Moro's players away and try and upset them pretty early on as they sort of get their defense up together.
If experienced players, which Sorry to Disturb have a lot of time here, and they have 10 minutes or 11 minutes there almost, that it can basically mean curtains. You have to get them into a trolling mode or something to kneecap themselves, but let's see how serious these players are still taking this, as Sandman is trying to walk forward here, gets peppered a little bit, the sentry gun only going to get wrangled there, early pop onto Sandman, I mean, they had to pop in that anyway. Pyroham going to get dropped there because the medic got juggled. Finally, Destron has something to say about this with the stickies, cleans up a secondary. Lanza falling on the side flank there in the little white room area. Some E-cap time, but for the moment it seems a bit temporary only on this B point, as if Sorry to Disturb want to plow in here, I feel like Moro don't have the biggest response.
Yeah, seemingly not. You know, they're losing an awful lot of players on the defenses. We touched on it before, where if you're losing players on the defense, it's always going to be worse than a trade, just because your spawn times are so long, and Sorry to Disturb can just keep churning it out over and over and over again. And those players being down have granted Sorry to Disturb enough space to just sort of near completely lock out this second point. They're all so healthy. They've got a slight uber advantage as well. And not only are they going to get this B, but they're in a pretty stellar position to keep rolling up through this connector area and try and displace Moro's combo even more.
Luckily, Destron did survive. He's putting up some cheeky stickies in the BC connector, but they're so far back. And they also lose a bit of their flank. They're however getting reflected absolutely into bits, and Moikel also doing his namesake maybe in a reverse sort of scenario, getting killed himself 5 seconds down to the respawners, and BC connector not occupied in an aggressive manner because they don't have the personnel for it, and they are paying so much respect to Sorry to Disturb Mora that is, and Sorry to Disturb might even opt to go for the E point, but I don't think they even want to, as they want to take this fair and square Sandman, chucked in the air, finally going to get flashed,
oh my
but
God.
in the air still.
Wow, that was a sort of complete nuke on that. Uber is on auto as well, managing to pick him up. 4 players down on the offending side, and we're seeing 9 out of Moro. That puts him in a really good position to try and get this hold up together in a Lakey. Going down, Lanza so weak on this hill area as well. Sorry to Disturb, sort of really upset by that aggression out of Moro, and they are taking the time down slowly but surely, but we're going to have to see a lot more of it if they want to try and recover this round.
Blank got flamed down there, and after seeing this action at the third point, I can finally understand the play of Monty Python's The Flying Circus. Everyone was in the air and everybody got cleaned off there eventually. Their Skyfox going to get stick down though, Cannon falling as well. They're losing their players once again a bit irresponsibly. The Uber disadvantage is set onto the offense, but if the defense doesn't have any control over points, then it might not even work out in their favor, since they lost 5 players there, 90%. But once again, Uber in the bank doesn't really achieve all that much if your players are on insanely long respawns.
Yeah, we all know how long the rotates take on this map. It can be a pretty awkward challenge, particularly if you have had, it's usually enough to sort of diminish it and hand it to the other team, but we're seeing a lot of E-cap time coming out of Sorry to Disturb. They've got control of Heaven, they've got control of Beck, and Moro are just sort of pushing. They're trying to put a round peg in a square hole as it stands, and just eating so much damage, getting all their players picked off, and they're all falling victim to those huge spawn waves. It's only Piney really that's able to displace any of Sorry to Disturb's players on this E point with the sniper rifle, but ultimately not enough as it stands, as they go 5 players down. So much cap time going the way, and this could be game.
The inevitable demise of a team, at least in the very first set of Steel 1-0, flipping in the favor of Sorry to Disturb, and Mora falling a bit short there. Well, maybe not a bit short. I mean, it was around 4 or 5 minutes there on the offense.
Yeah, I think very is an appropriate word to use there, baby.
Yeah, definitely very. I mean, I'm trying to get the convalescenic measures in there, but well, sugarcoating is maybe not in my dictionary right now. As yeah, Moro definitely. It's really difficult, as we are already in the second round. Wow, I can't even get some knowledge plowed into that, and I can't get more information into that, as they're so aggressive here to go in instantly. Sorry to Disturb being on the offensive phase right now, and Moro have to show what they can do while being maybe not in a absolutely destroying mindset of having to defend for 11.5 minutes.
Yeah, this could be interpreted one of two ways. Moro could just be saying, guys, let's just get it over with. Or sorry to be stoked if you go, let's roll with some momentum. Or Moro are like, okay, let's use the little bit of setup time we've got. Let's try and sort of bash our heads together and have a good think about this. You know, we've put up 2 absolute stinkers of times, one on upward and now one on steel. Let's fucking sort it out, boys. We're on the defense. It's a fresh map. It's a fresh game. It's an uphill battle. But it is certainly possible. Let's get this. So I think it's a mind over matter thing, certainly, because they can certainly rely on Sorry to Disturb to sort of take a backseat just a little bit, just try and chill out, and because they're going to be sort of getting a little bit confident, a little bit cocky as they slowly roll out on their offense. Sorry to Disturb going to be offending in this round first. Moro on the defense, setting up on this D and just waiting for Sorry to Disturb to get their push up together.
Judging from the recently applied British tones, I suppose that to a subsidiary channel as Kritzkas 2 Watershed Time maybe does not imply, or apply at least, but I mean, maybe your confidential words that are going to enable the team, as Piney is going to get some headaches then, the literal and metaphorical meaning of words into the offensive team, as winning the sniper vs sniper battle still, and Pyroham trying to reflect something away here, as both Pyros are playing a bit with the stickies of the opposing Demoman, as Sandburn is going to walk onto that front flank right now, going to get denied right there, though Pyroham finally able to get popped over onto him beforehand. He was not really protected by his own medic. Let's see who can make something out of the position. Sandburn is so much juggled there into the little window, gets down to about half HP. Finally, Moy is still controlling this top area.
Yeah, I mean, so those aggressive Ubers out of main are great, but if you can't get control of upper at the same time, you're never going to have a dominant push there. And they had 3 players on the side Moro's defense there, and Sorry to Disturb just could not crack that nut. Pyroham was enough to just completely invalidate the Uber. No pressure from anywhere else. The man tries to get the gun down, but gets picked out as there's no ancillary pressures there from the remaining players of Sorry to Disturb. But Dastron going down on the defending side could be an opportunity for Sorry to Disturb to make something happen.
Lakey peeking so aggressive should be indicative of what their main strategy was so far in, as they even have this Uber advantage here. Eden was forced to heal players that were caught in dispenser. He was staying in dispenser safe, going to keep his life there by epic surfing, epic dodging, epic weaving, epic diving, finally going to get out, but they have to reclaim the situation, have to marshal all their players in together, get back onto that point, 100% in the bank, and they want to do this. Yes, this team is full on force going in.
Oh, we see the bomb coming out of Dastron, but he just gets completely elevated.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Lakey with the headshot. That is twice just completely doming Dastron in the air, not letting him get away with anything. No time to detonate those stickies, and the second cap does go the way of Sorry to Disturb now. 3 players from Moro suffering victim to these really long spawn waves, and Sorry to Disturb just want to get in before they can get a solid defense going. A Sentry, Sandburn, so fast, take Wiethoofd down near instantly and completely render any attempt from Moro to hold C completely worthless. And it's just going to be a bit of momentum in their hands, managing to pick off the defending team's gun. 4 players down. This is potentially disastrous for Moro as they lose their 3rd point.
Somehow Sandburn survived, walking over 4 stickies that were detonated onto him, and they're using this Uber advantage right now into the white room, absolutely rolling forward here. Pyroham and Eden trying to salvage the situation, and Senderi even going to survive that with a little area. I think it was a Pyro and a medic against a Pyro and a medic, and Otto is going to survive, even got a SAR after all of that. D point is going to get capped, and sometimes I hope that in a loud voice, if I narrate this game, then even that might mask some questionable decisions that these people are making, since Moro overstepped their boundaries there on the 2nd point, and shows right now they didn't wait for their players all that much to spawn, and it is an absolute roll there onto the E point. Even all the players are going to get fragged, going to get put into enlarged and inflated pockets, and I don't think they will get any sort of convincing foothold anymore into this.
No, 3 players remaining. I don't think they're going to make too much happen, particularly with the long rotates, you know. A lot of time to sort of tick down. A bit of trolling from Auto, flashing all of his players on the point, but they just outnumber. Nobody from Moro is going to be able to get there in time to invalidate the ×6 time that Sorry to Disturb put up. And they put up a 4-minute time, which, again, pretty rapid. I'd say that's almost as remarkable as the 4-minute 50 time we saw on Upward.
They are level packing with themselves there, it seems. Try to set new records, set new heights, and get themselves into more record times in this season at the very least. I feel some estrangement, really. I always like to cast, for example, Div1 Grand Finals much more than like Premiership Grand Finals, because as I alluded to in the beginning, everything is set in stone. Premiership, how boring, always the same teams, always the same roles. Unfortunately, apparently in Div1 you can also have some roles that back in the day you would describe that by objects that you could use to protect yourselves from a flood, I suppose. But we're seeing that maybe right here as some former Premiership players are flexing their muscles in Div 1. To be quite fair, it can be a convalescent game for Moro, I suppose, because they see how to deal with a crushing defeat. No, but they can see how to deal with, you know, getting put into tough situations. And maybe I eat my words. Let's see what they can make do here.
Yeah, of course, irrespective of the result, they will certainly learn a lot from this, particularly with their sort of less experienced players. But again, all is not over. We've seen AE pushes. You know, this map could be done in 2 minutes for all we know, Domaytoe. But perhaps our better judgment might say otherwise. As now on the offense, it's going to be Moro, Delakey going down on the defending side. But a lot of players stacking that A point from Moro, and they're rotating straight through to this B. Let's see if they're sort of slightly more successful than their counterparts last time around and managed to take control of this high ground nice and early.
The man also already got a stab there onto the offensive engineer, and Destro is trying to walk in there. They didn't even pop their Uber. They baited and had everyone walk in, force that Uber. Cannon is going to get a bit trolled there, trolls the enemy team rather with his Rep Assassin, a bit of Christmas decoration to wrap your own Uber force up in. And I was pointing out maybe some ingenuity needs to get blown into this game. Moro definitely have something to say about this. I was maybe expecting even sniper from drop down, but there was no play yet. They got the force and they have to make huge momentum out of that Uber advantage.
Yeah, we do see the Uber advantage coming forward, managed to hit that gun down, and a lot of high ground taken as well. It's just going to be Moikill up there from their team, but doesn't manage to make too much of it as all of the players around him crumble, and he gets knocked off to a pretty low state of health himself. Really unfortunate, I think, maybe a little bit of a mistake to keep pressuring E when you're trying to do a really dominant B push, and what it's done is it just meant that they pushed 2 points poorly. Rather than just trying to get the one over the line. But we do see a pretty big rotate from Moro. They've got all of their team in to E now, and Dastron is just trying to lock off this connector as best as he can, coupled with Pyroham, but no cap pressure applied just yet. And the Uber coming out, sorry to disturb, but straight away they're trying to shut down. They've penned Moro into this C. It's just Dastron and Eden as they do pull up with the Uber charge. It could be a potential disaster.
Is it Wisdom showdown, drop down, but all the pipes are going to get served exactly, and 150 HP is the max the medic has there, and he's going to lose even that after a great headshot there from Likey from this spawn, from the little spawn that leads to the E point. And the issue is, after all, they had the Uber disadvantage, and they also took a ton of damage there because Sandman had the early call. Piney also tried to sneak in from behind from E and sort of gave a red herring there early on, but being a red flag there for his own team, because after all, then sorry to disturb knew that they would push from this location, and Ascendery, Sandburn, and even the Demo Man is going to be there, but this huge reflect Pyroham puts reflected projectiles into them. That could be their chance. Absolutely game-changing moment right there.
Bear in mind, it's only a 40-second cap on this E point if you've got ×3, so this could potentially be a dub as 3 players only up for sorry to disturb. They're getting a couple more in the queue. Moikill's applying as much pressure as he can to this spawn dot with just Cannon from his team capping. 48 seconds on this clock, and the crits coming out. They're left off this spawn. Oh, this is potentially disastrous. Moro could potentially take this as the cap time is so close. It's sorry to disturb, taunting, larking about. You know, they potentially dropped a bollock here.
Wonderful.
Wow.
You started playing since season 5. We don't care about boring castles. Like, what do we know, honestly? Like, the reflect of a lifetime there from Pyroham, then switching to the crit, sticking off the spawn. Cannon absolutely keeping his life there, getting the cap nudged out. They say quick break. Who cares about quick breaks? Instantly into the 3rd round. this is the action you only see in Div 1, where players are still young and have fresh wrists and everything, and, you know, want to get pumping into the boring old players right there. So 1-1, something you don't see maybe in Prem all that often, but in Div 1 you have the great upsets sometimes.
Yeah, some pretty phenomenal saves coming out of Moro there, and perhaps a little bit of trolling from Sorry to Disturb. I'm sure we all saw Blank taunting on D point in front of Pioneer, but the coupled, sort of those two things coupled together, does mean that we do indeed have a game on our hands. Moro now attacking once more. The winner of this sort of round in this map will take it. This is of course the third round of this second map. And we'll have to see what Moro are going to do to try and displace Sorry to Disturb. Of course, they've got no time to work against, but we've seen all sorts of ranges from 12 minutes to 3 minutes out of Moro, so we will just have to see how things pan out as they make their way into the A point.
Heva is calling that they are going to make ETF2L history, and you have to see, I mean, you don't even have to set your hopes and stakes all that high. It's already enough if you make your own team's history right there. Though Moike is going to find the man who was hiding there a bit on the A point. As old school players, usually these times as a spy you can hide in the boring right room and watch the crit stickies there from your own Demoman, but he got cleaned off there. Really irrelevant pick, didn't really matter there. Not even interesting to point out there. Anyway, though, they're on the offense right here, Moro, and I think they had the decision actively to be on this offense first because they had the faster time, so they could decide. And right now there's going to be the bonk in from Cannon. They lost some players early on, don't really have the personnel to take this high ground.
Yeah, they do take it with a couple of players, but all importantly, they have eliminated that teleporter. It looks like Inner might try and get up there to rebuild, but Moro just trying to unstick Sorry to Disturb as best as they can and try and give themselves the best chance possible. But losing Dastron is certainly not going to speed things up, as this is a game all about time here. Just Moikil committed onto this B point now, and it looks like Sorry to Disturb are ready to try and counter anything that might come of it.
The strength is omnipresent here, the strengths and the weaknesses, but this time the strengths were caught out, which was the suicide wave there. The sentry was also ready for it, and the source was already spun up. Sandman had some stickies there as well, so instantly melted that suicide wave attempt away. So 50% were done right, they all died, but they didn't get any result out of that. It means though that they have the ability to conglomerate up into the white room and have them in rotation that worked for them beforehand. No crits into play this time around though. Full 100% Uber onto both teams. Sandburn is going to sniff that out early, and the sentry gun is already set up there. A bit of damage is going to go down. The sentry gun is going to get rendered harmless.
A lovely headshot from Zaman in a 1v1 with Wiethoofd. Looks like Moro are going to try and get their gun up into heaven, but they do actually do a single Uber onto Pyroham, but Sentry is ready to deny them, trying to reflect them into that pit. They're going to have to call it quits there as they allow their flank to get set up on E just a little bit here, but you've got to have to question what the call is going to be here. Are they going to keep trying to pressure this E? You know, they haven't got any cap time over the line just yet, and they're taking a big old hunk of damage as well.
They're getting so much damage here onto Sandman into Ina. He's going to get backstabbed, and Sauce is also falling to the stickies from Destron. I wanted them to rotate even through the under area, but never mind me, as the coin toss of the DM fight finally was able to once again get the advantage onto Moro, as Sandary is there alone against Destron. Still flaring onto that point, and the headshot from the man showing that Ambassador is still viable in 2021. Lucky though, getting free charge body shot down, and right now Moro have to take a decision here what they want to do. They got some frags, but they could fall into a repeating scenario that didn't work out for them in the first round.
Yeah, you know, they've managed to get all this vision, managed to do all this, managed to get the frags they needed to, but if there's no cap pressure that comes off of the back of it and no ulterior points being capped at the same time, it's all to pot really, because you know, ultimately you're giving the enemy team what they want, and Lakey drops in and he gets elevated by Lanza and just completely domed. So not only have they not managed to get any cap time on any of the points, but they've also handed Sorry to Disturb a full Uber advantage and a huge player advantage as well.
Lightning strikes through the head of the medic right there, and maybe even that bolts an additional idea of we should rotate to the B point. They're doing that right now, 100% to the defending team, and they don't have the eyes onto that rotation, onto the A point. I don't know why they were so slow right now. The red force is going to come close. Pyroham, Moikel and Destron wanting to find any players there. There's only really Lanza jumping the demo man there, doesn't even get dealt with, gets Destron down. The Uber is still firmly in the hands of the defense, and once again Eden dies.
Yeah, Zimman managing to pick him off, and the Uber charge coming out of Sorry to Disturb, just cleaning up any of the players and making all of the cap pressure they applied completely redundant. Again, it's just too slow. You know, they're losing players at inappropriate times, and they just can't quite figure out what their approach wants to be. It looks like they're just saying, oh yeah, the combo will do one thing, the flank will do another thing, and then whichever one seems to work out better, we'll commit to that. But then they're just not committing to it.
Yeah, that's the issue. We don't really know if it's a sort of communication issue. Therefore, on Steel, it is a brain-dependent Highlander map because you don't see your team constantly. You have to use your mouth, your thinkers, and your microphone. And obviously, your headset Destron is going to get targeted. Gets a huge arrow, gets Domaytoe by a reflect from Ascendery. Only kept his own demo alive there, Eden, for him to get absolutely fragged there into oblivion. Likely though, falling down. Sniper versus sniper duel still swinging heavily in the favor of Mara, but they have to get something out of that. The likeliness of the first round is going to repeat itself most likely, but finally they're going to assert some dominance onto the B point.
Yeah, managing to get the gun down is a good opening for the Uber charge, but it's Sorry to Disturb. They hit the gas first. They managed to lose Ascendery as well, and a good old bit of cap time from Moro. It's come in pretty late, but it looks like they might just about close this out as Sorry to Disturb are gonna get straight on this rotate, and they are quite keen to deploy themselves on this C point now and just try and draw this out as long as is humanly possible.
It could work out there if all the attempts at, well, maybe even getting E right now are not futile. Then it could be around a 6.5 minute time. The issue is it's really difficult without these bridges. You don't really get these bridges, except if you obviously kept the C point. So only a few jumping players can get onto that point. Moike is going to get tanked right here, has to gun the entire combo down, doesn't work. No pressure. Piney though puts a salvaging bullet into South.
Yeah, Dastron is trying his best to lock off this connector area for Cannon, but he's only 22 HP himself. You know, there's no heals on the horizon for him, but they're making it look sort of reasonably easy as Dastron's doing a real solid for his scout teammate there, as the rest of his team just try and get a little bit of position. They're coming up through Beck. They've got a fair chunk of heals on them as well, but the combo from Sorry to Disturb is definitely ready to receive in this Beck.
They shouldn't drop heavy here, and he's going to get dropped right there. I mean, they saved the Uber. Eden was so far back. Apparently it was a coordinator to a force play, so I'm not going to criticize them all that much for it. I'm going to criticize them for what you pointed out as a symptomatic issue there beforehand, though. Destron was in a prime position, but he didn't have any support there, especially by the medic. The medic and the entire Mora team just stayed on the B point, didn't really do anything with the heals themselves, didn't get them into a prolific situation. Right now though, they have this Uber advantage, so they have to go in here, guns blazing, no time to waste.
Yeah, it's really good that they managed to get Ascendery before the push, because you knew the Pyro was going to be the only thing that would upset that, and Dastron and Pyroham go huge, completely isolating those players and making the cleanup nice and easy. But again, you got to touch on the time. How much time has been ticking down in trying to execute the C push? There was 5:30 when it came just to capping B, so we'll have to see how things pan out as the C point is just getting over the line, and a little bit of pressure being applied to E by Cannon, who's been doing an absolute solid for his team throughout this entire series.
He's going ham, he's going to get hammed, and hitherto it hasn't worked out for them all that well when they put pressure onto both points, though this time it was only Cannon really sacrificing his life for a bit of a red herring there for the Sorry to Disturb team, as Mora kept C, 7:48. It is on the bit slowish times. Looking at this, objectively seen so far, Z-Man going to fall. 50% advantage still though on the offensive team. The issue is they're losing their players unnecessarily. 7k onto Lanza. Maybe the rotation through 2D would be better, because right now they're just posturing into this low area. I mean, they do get sauced down, but the issue is the defense is going to build their Uber up.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a tricky one. They're not really in any position to get into D, so they're going to have to just sort of meander their way into this E point. They've managed to disrupt the NG in heaven, and there's certainly good grounds for them to take the position should they need it, but as you touched on, it could be a bit awkward, and Eden gets reflected into the pit, but manages to save himself by landing on the pipe. 3 frags coming out from moro onto Sorry to Disturb. A sentry super weak right in front of him as well. Dixhorse and Inner, again, just staring at this point. Oh, and we do actually see an unpause Moikill managing to get one of them. The bomb coming from Haver, so perfectly timed as well. They managed to convert all the frags. Only 3 players left up from Sorry to Disturb. This is a perfect opportunity for moro to close this out. It's only ×2 on the cap. They need to try and take this high ground. They need to try and play these heals. They need to try and support these players on the cap. Take the high ground. Do what you can and just try and prevent Sorry to Disturb. You know, they've got 2 players up Sorry to Disturb, but they've only had time to sort of a very few on the cap until now. But this could potentially be it for what was quite a lengthy time. It was converted pretty rapid in the end, and that's it's slow, but it's doable certainly on the defensive side.
And the last exchange there was beautifully executed. That was the pause. The pause was famous moments before disaster there for the defensive team, since all the players were into vital positions there onto moro. And as you pointed out, Moi was a crucial factor there in well, gunning out the players out of the safety of the little spawn area, and after all the flank then from moro rebounded and cleaned up the players that were weak. They were able to stack that E point, and when it's going well, then it really does snowball in their favor on the side of moro. The issue is they really have to do huge task here once again to defend this, so the morale must be as high as the aspirations. As wanting to take this to a 3rd map, you have my full favor for it, but you know, you have to show what they can do here. But I suppose this is also very challenging and likely issue to resolve, so if they're up to the challenge, then I think they can do it.
Certainly so. So now offending first will be Sorry to Disturb moro on the defense. They're going to have to defend it for 9.5 minutes if they want to take this to a 3rd map. If Sorry to Disturb manage to push it within that, this series is over and they will be Div 1 champion. So it all comes down to this wire in particular, and the first cap in A does go to Sorry to Disturb. They're just going to heal up and try and disassemble moro's B hold, which is looking pretty solid as it stands. A lot of high ground control. They've got the gun up, but they come in with a pretty rapid Uber around this corner.
But better Uber management right there from the side of moro, as they only had to really solo flash onto a Pyro because Sandburn there got juggled, and Ascendery had to get Ubered on there as well. As Pyroham though loses his head like he is peeking aggressive. Moikill going to get cleaned up there. Lanza winning that duel for the high ground, which should signal going out here for Eden and for Destron, who are the only 2 real players that were forward and were out already. Wiethoofd is out as well. It is difficult. They have 8 seconds there to regroup their players, and that might signal everyone to go out, to not lose too many players in too short of a time fashion, as Destron is only getting some stickies forward.
Yeah, a pretty rapid AB closeout there from Sorry to Disturb, and they are very much in the driving seat to try and tackle this time put up by moro. So they're doing everything they can to try and delay this. A good frag onto Sandburn does stunt their momentum just a little bit, but Dastron seemingly caught out as well, as is Moikill. Lakey going huge, managed to pick up yet another frag, and Dastron stuck in the mud. Z trying to finish him off, beats a couple of shots, but ultimately does send him right to the back of the spawn queue, picking up a 24-second spawn time. That's got to sting.
Those are such weird trades, such weird plays to do there. I mean, they knew that the doors would close surely after they kept B point there, and they just threw their combo away. They got nothing for it in a resort. They got some players down there which were on 2-second respawns, and therefore that handed Sorry to Disturb C absolutely for free. I mean, both Ubers are, but there is no vital position there really to Uber onto them. Destron gets headshot before the Uber that didn't even get anything done there, gets popped.
Yeah, now just handing Sorry to Disturb this full advantage, and not only have they got full advantage, but the bridge have been extended. Everyone on the team can play this cap. Scout does get knocked out of the way just a little bit. Gun pretty weak from the side moro, and now Sorry to Disturb in control of this heavy area. It looks like they want to try and lock out this E point now, as there's 4 players down on the side moro. Just trying to lock out these respective doors entering to D and White Room respectively. So we'll have to see when they can stack their players on the cap and what they can do to try and close this out. There's 6 minutes 30 seconds left it's looking pretty comfortable for them as it stands.
They have to get Tenbin out of the heaven area, and Destron is finally going to do just about that. Pyroham wasn't able to get him out there, but Destron is finishing the job, and they might be able to assert some sort of stability onto that E point, which is much needed on the side of Mora. As Sandbun though wants to get some chaos into the fight, falling down though, nothing to be achieved for him.
Yeah, it didn't look like too many kills there, but sorry to disturb, just sort of reconciled. They've managed to hand this sort of what was a full Uber advantage into an equal Uber situation, but again, they're still trying to have a crack into this E, and now they've got all their players up. No threat from Pioneers. He's been sent back to the back of the spawn. It looks like they want to come in and use this Uber straight out of the gate.
The paradigmatic notion should work for them after all, as the stringent strategy is not working, because the issue there was they all pushed from the same angle, wanted to all get the same damage, but didn't really have any sort of position after all on the side of Sorry to Disturb. They got 3 frags though, which is crucial, and Skyfox went down as well. Eden has this Uber, but they're never in a vital position to get anything done, because the entire team dies, and now they try to recommit.
Yeah, 5 players rather down from Moro. They do pop the Uber charge, trying to make something of it. Blank on the D point as well, so that's going to lock off even more spawn doors for Moro here, as they have managed to lock out that D point. So much cap time on the E as well. Players crumbling individually from Moro. 5 minutes on the clock. Sorry to disturb. It's got to be a close out here, as so many of them on the cap and all of the flanks locked out.
It is going to seal off Series Div 1 Grand Final. Champions are Sorry to Disturb, and the second place, a well-deserved second place, but still the second place is going to go to Mora. Both teams were freshly formed, but the different experiences of these players, of these individual players, and especially in the team coordination, really did show in the long run.
In respect to that map, shall we have a quick look at these logs? I think maybe they might look a bit sad from one side of the sort of wall there.
We'll see if that notion will ring true. Sort them by KDs, and on KDs I can see blue. Everything I see there is blue, and is not even from an old song, but Likey with a 2.0 KD. A sniper, get frags, amazing, don't die.
Again, it's just so reflective of how dominant Sorry to Disturb were there. You know, just like on a class-to-class level, it was just like echelons above in every respect. The medics were pretty tight, the heavies were pretty tight, but beyond that, it was a bit of a bun fight, and you can see why sort of the best team won out of that. But it's by no means to sort of discredit Moro. A lot of new players, a lot of sort of inexperienced players, and they've sort of relished in the opportunity and looked reasonably comfortable at times during this grand final. So they should take that with pride and use it driving forward into the next seasons there. But I think best not to dwell on these logs. Let's allow them to brush it under the carpet.
Definitely. We also don't need the absolute combined numbers. They're upward still together. Wow.
Oh, no.
No.
I would certainly agree. So is there anything else we could possibly go over, or is this time to get a good old kip?
The issue is, if you ask me that and Wiethoofd is not here, you have nobody to put me on a leash on, and I will just go on rambling. I will just silently think about past and glorious days.
Okay, well, this has been the Div 1 Grand Finals. Congratulations to Sorry to Disturb winning it over 2 maps. You have been joining myself, Core, the unsung hero of production, pulling it like a champ as always. Joining me on the mic, it's been a pleasure as always, is Domaytoe. Make sure you check us out, Critscast. We've got a Twitter, we've got a Discord. You can find these VODs on YouTube all the time. If you didn't catch the Prem Grand Finals, that'll be on there soon. Patreon and merchandise, all for you to grab. So thank you very much for watching, gang, and we'll see you on the next one.
Hi, old beaver! Away!